Hey everyone, welcome back. This is a Co-Travel with Bob Piercy podcast. And today I'm actually joined with Mike Clark, VP of Workforce. Mike, thanks for doing this today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So Mike, we got an interesting story. We actually met a number of years ago in Kelowna. There's kind of an unofficial kind of like dental summit in Kelowna, which was a great escape from Alberta at the time. But that's where we met. And that's where I first heard of Workforce. Real quick for the viewers, what is Workforce? What industries are you working in traditionally? And then before you came into the dental space?
Yeah, for sure. So, Workforce Staffing Solutions, we've been in the staffing industry for 23 years now, largely and primarily before we got into dental, just in the blue collar space. So we provide both permanent and temporary workers in the blue collar space. Our temporary side of our business is in Western Canada. So we've got 5 offices that provide temporary workers to construction sites in BC and Alberta. And then we have a headhunting side that provides permanent full-time employees to largely blue collar industries, whether it's manufacturing, automotive, oil and gas, energy, construction across Canada. We employ about 5,000 people a year on our blue collar side of our business. Some of those guys are, just a day, some of them are longer, but, that's sort of the size of our blue collar side. And then, we 2.5 years ago or so started looking at some other verticals, some other industries, and I zeroed in on the dental industry and, found just an unbelievable number of problems on how, temp dental staffing agencies were servicing the dental industry right across the country.
And so you've been in dentistry, you're located in Vancouver, correct?
Yes.
And how long have you been doing temp work for dentistry in Vancouver?
So we're coming up on 2 years. This June is when we launched our dental division. And then very soon after we launched, we went into the Toronto market. And then just before COVID hit, we just stepped foot into the Alberta market. And then obviously everyone knows what happened, with the world. And we pulled out of Alberta. We put the brakes on that. And, since then we've started back up. Vancouver has been really strong for us since, things have kind of reopened. Toronto is very much still, largely locked down. There's a lot of people still not visiting the dentist out there comparative to BC. And then, but we are seeing that unthaw now. And now we've relaunched back into the Alberta market. And this time when we were going into Alberta, we started with Calgary. But I spoke to a number of people and they all begged us to come to Edmonton first. So, that's sort of our first step back into the Alberta market is in the Edmonton area.
Well, that's fantastic. And yeah, obviously I'm Edmonton based and we were looking forward to you coming here again, back pre-COVID, and glad that you're getting back into this. You talked about this huge opportunity and these issues that you saw in the dental space kind of before you entered it. Like and again, like it's, as I understand and as I see it, like it really has been a free for all for a long time in regards to temp workers. I don't even begin to understand what doctors and owners of practices are doing. But I guess that's why you're here. Like, what are those issues? What do you see? How does dentistry differ from other industries that you're in regards to temp work? And like, why does Workforce need to be in the dental space versus just the model that's been operating up until now?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite remarkable. So, everywhere in the world, when you phone, in every industry, when you phone a temp agency to get a temp, administrative person or a temp construction worker or, whatever it may be, that temp agency is supposed to directly employ that person. And so that the company that is requesting that worker doesn't need to deal with any of the headache, payroll, T4s, ROEs, insurance, any of that type of stuff. With the dental industry, all of the dental agencies in Canada are what I've coined as basement agencies. And this basement agency is literally, it's a one-person show that maybe was an ex, hygienist or ex dental assistant or receptionist, and they now have, said and started their own so-called dental staffing agency. The problem that has sort of built over the many years is that these dental agencies, these basement agencies, because it's a one-person show, they don't have the team, the horsepower behind them to provide a real temporary staffing model. So, we are currently the only agency in the entire country that provides dental staff where we directly employ them. The basement agency is sort of like the center of the problem, and it's created a whole whack of problems that have slowly brought the staffing service to basically a grinding halt. So there's a couple big problems. Well, there's a number of problems that this model has created. Number one, is that payroll issue, right? And what's happening is, if you are a candidate, if you're a hygienist and you're looking to pick up temp work, you'll go to one of these agencies and they will send you to ABC office and XYZ office. When you show up at that office, you're supposed to be treated and paid as an employee. You should be on someone's payroll because you do not meet the definition of a contractor. But what's the problem is that these dental offices, I would say half of them are taking the time to put them on payroll for literally that day and then have to, dismiss them, ROE, T4 them just for that one day. The other half of the offices are just pulling out their checkbook and cutting them the check and saying, see you later. So that in itself is creating a whole bunch of problems. Number one, that temp hygienist or dental assistant is going to be collecting a T4 every time they go get sent to an office where they're put on payroll. Then for the other 50% of the time where they're being paid as a contractor, they have a decision to make. Do I just put this in the bank account, roll the dice, and not do my taxes, or do I spend the time and do my taxes? So the experience for the temp worker is nothing short of horrendous because we are regularly bringing people on board and they're saying, holy smokes, I can't believe you guys exist. Like, I collected 45 T4s last year and had to do my taxes from 30 different offices that I went to. And, there's a lot of people that have sort of thrown up their hands and said, you know what, this process of temping is no good, right? And they leave sort of the temp model and they just don't even go and seek that type of work because it's so bad. And, besides having to collect T4s and doing your own taxes, a lot of the times they have to chase a paycheck. They go work in an office, they submit the hours to the office, they say, yeah, we'll pay you in 2 weeks. The office loses some forms, they forget them. It's weeks or months later before they get paid. That basement agency, they don't have records, they don't have systems in place to keep track of that candidate's availability. So they're constantly getting phoned every week by every one of these little agencies saying, hey, are you available to work, available to work? And they say, no, like I told you, I'm working full time this week. So that the whole candidate experience from, having to do your own taxes, collecting T4s, being bothered all the time, chasing paychecks. Like, it's created a huge problem for attracting, workers that want to pick up casual work. So we've come in there really focused in on the candidate experience side of it, and said, listen, like, this is not the way temping's supposed to look. So let's do it right. Let's, put them on our payroll. Let's create a great app where it's kind of like the Uber for staffing. We send out jobs to people that are only showing as available on their calendar, that want to see jobs. They accept and decline jobs in real time. They get paid every week, direct deposit. They collect one T4 at the end of the year, whether they work for us once or 50 times. So we really focus on the candidate experience, which is now bringing a lot of those people that were on the bench that said they'd never temp again because of that experience. Now they're coming off the bench, and they're coming over to us. The other people that are working through these other basement agencies, where would you rather work? Would you rather go collect 30 T4s at the end of the year, or would you rather go, work with Workforce where you get one T4, get paid every week, never have to chase a paycheck, all that stuff, right? So, that candidate focus on the candidate experience is really what's driving our success right now. But there's other obviously challenges with, disrupting the space, is that now we have to re-educate all these dental offices and these dental, office managers and dentists that, you guys, by the way, the way you've been doing it, the way you've been doing it literally for decades, it's actually wrong. And
there's a better way.
Yeah, there's a better way. And it's, that's by far our biggest hurdle right now in certain markets.
And wow, just what you just said there, there's so much there and so much more we can go in on. And I'm sure people that are listening to this are just, again, making notes or just thinking, what next? Real quick, you said one of the first things you said there is that, dental assistants, dental hygienists don't qualify as a contractor.
Yes.
Why don't they qualify as contractors? Is there a way for them to qualify as contractors that they're not doing properly? Like, let's start there. Why don't they qualify as a contractor?
Well, there's this great article on the one of the dental hygiene website, and I'll send you a link for it, which outlines it's called there's 4 control tests that the CRA puts out that you have to meet in order to be qualified as a contractor. And 99.9% of the time, when you look at a hygienist that walks in a door as a temp, or a dental assistant or a receptionist, they don't meet the control test. You fail one of them, you're out. You can't be considered a contractor. And I'll give you just one really easy example of one of these control tests. So if a hygienist comes in to your office and she uses any of the equipment in that office, then she is not a contractor. So if they're using any of the tools, the chair, the computer, anything like that, and they're not paying, for the use of that equipment, then they're not a contractor.
So, for example, a hair salon, they rent chairs to the stylist. They're a contractor because the contractor is actually paying rent on the chair and then collecting revenue from the clients. But
and they're bringing the tools, right? They're bringing the scissors, the everything like that. So, one of the big drivers, besides obviously this payroll issue that got us into this space, is that we canvassed and we spoke to a lot of dental offices, and we found so many, and every week we find another one that is getting audited and fined by the CRA right now. Because, don't take my word for it. I'll send you that link and people can click on it. But, why would the CRA be fining dental offices if, this wasn't the case? It is the case, and it is like what is happening. The other thing that, your listeners should know is that, we work with all of the big DSOs across Canada now. And when we came into this space and they found out, we told them, hey, listen, get your temp workforce through us. and we'll handle all the payroll and all the stuff. They almost fell off their chairs. They said, holy smokes, about time that someone's come into this area and doing this, because right now, every time one of these basement agencies sends us a worker, we're spending upwards of 2 hours doing the administration of bringing that person on for the day, doing payroll, then having to dismiss them, get rid of them, ROE, T4, all that stuff. 2 hour is what they're spending on average between all the DSOs we work with. So, these big DSOs understand that if they don't put them on their payroll, that they're going to get fined. They know this. It's 100%. Like there's no way around it. A lot of dental offices think, it's just one day every couple months I need a temp. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. 1 day, 50 days, you're offside. You're going to get caught, and more importantly, you're going to get audited. And the cost of the audit will be, mind-boggling. We found one dentist that, employed. I shouldn't even say employed. Used a temp hygienist for about 5 months. This hygienist ended up leaving to Switzerland, never filed her taxes, paid her taxes. CRA came knocking on the door of the dentist. They said, you should have known better. She should have been an employee. You should have been withholding her taxes. So guess what we're going to do? You're going to pay her taxes because we can't find her. She's moved out of the country. You're going to pay your employer burden, your CPP, EI contributions, all that stuff, and we're going to fine you too. And it was a $60,000, total bill that this one dentist got. So people have to remember that. Yes, if you pull out your checkbook, you're rolling the dice, but that hygienist or dental assistant, if they don't do their taxes and submit their taxes, they're going to come after you, right? And you're going to have to pay them. But the other side of it is insurance, right? I know hygienists generally have insurance when they with their certification, but dental assistants largely across Canada don't have insurance. So if you bring in a temp dental assistant and you pay her as a contractor and something goes wrong, there is no insurance there, like none whatsoever. So
it no longer falls under the dentist's insurance plan.
No, because they're paying this person as a contractor. So they're not even under they're not an employee of the dentist, right? So, when we send people, both hygienists, dental assistants, dental receptionists, they are fully insured, not only through, WCB, WSIB, but we also have professional liability on top of that. So, a lot of dentists try to save, $10 here or $20 there. I mean, this is one area that, one mistake, one problem, one person doesn't file their taxes, and then you get audited. The cost is just enormous, and it's happening right across the country. More and more offices and dentists are getting, fined or dragged across the coals by CRA, than you can possibly imagine. It's like there's a huge bullseye on the industry because they know that this has been happening for so long. So it's like fish in a barrel. It really is.
Now, earlier on, you're talking a lot, and you're talking about the experience for the employee, for the assistant, for the hygienist, and how workforce and your model offers a better experience for them. Why people were leaving the dental industry because they were having bad experiences temping, and you guys are hoping to change that. So you bring more people, you keep the people that are currently temping. You also want to bring more people into the temping world, which again would alleviate strain on for dental offices because there'd be more workforce available. You just spoke now about the advantages and the risks that a dental office has by doing this incorrectly, and the security that I guess a company like yours would offer. Like, who is workforce for? Is it truly for the business and the dentist, or is it equally for the employees, the temp workers? Or is it 60-40 in favor of one or the other?
No, it's absolutely 50-50. I mean, staffing agencies have, we always have to balance, right? We have to, without the candidates, we don't have clients. Without clients, we don't have candidates. So it's always a 50-50 balance. This is the employer-employee relationship. A lot of people think, oh, it's just the big bad employer and it's a one-way street. No, like, we do not see it that way. It's a two-way street. And when you have that mutual respect from both sides, things work really well. So, absolutely, it's a 50-50 split for sure.
You also mentioned your app. So please walk us through the app. What is this? How does it work? Because I haven't heard of this before.
Yeah, for sure. So the app is for our workers. It's a straightforward, nice visual app. When you register with us, and once we've interviewed you and qualified you, checked your references, make sure you're all good, you get access into the app. And from there, it's super easy. You just go in. There's a calendar. You can flip your days on or off, meaning you're available or not available. And you only be sent jobs that match your availability. So when we push out a job, if a candidate in a geographic area that we have a job is showing available, they would see like a push notification where they can then accept or decline the job in real time. From there, if they get the job, their app turns into a digital time card, so that when they show up on site, we can see that they are actually there when they check in and verify they're there, or if they're running late, we'll be notified, which is always nice in the staffing world. So they check in, they check out, and at the end of the shift, the app turns it essentially into a digital like timesheet. So you would add your breaks, turn the app over to a signing officer on site, and they would sign the timesheet like you would sign a FedEx package with one of those things. And then we get that time back at our head office, and then we process payroll, and it's as simple as that. And then that worker only gets paid every week, and then we'll get 1 T4 at the end of the year. So, and then the office, all they get is, all they see and all they have to deal with is an invoice. That's it.
Do you allow offices to rate performance of the employees, and would you offer a similar service for an employee to rate kind of their experience at the office?
Yes, 100%. We do get regular rating feedback from our clients for candidates, and we can push our jobs out based on candidate rating. So, one of the other things that was lacking in the current models that were out there with these, basement agencies is that, there's no accountability, because these temps were, not employees of these agencies, and no one really cared, whether they were good or bad. With us, we tell our candidates that, if you fall below a certain rating, then you'll start seeing less and less jobs, right? So it's sort of a built-in check and balance for sure. One thing I forgot to touch on, another, big problem with the basement agency model is that, because none of the basement agencies directly employ the people they send, they allow the temp worker to dictate what their wages are. And this has created a tremendous amount of upward pressure on wages across the country. And it's really skewing the temp wages in almost every market in Canada. So what's happening is, there are situations where a temp will go into an office and, he or she will literally look around and be like, wow, they're, really desperate today. If the market wage is $50 an hour for a hygienist, they're saying, you know what, I'm $60 an hour today. And the dentist pays it. And what problem happens from this? There's two problems. Number one, you're paying too much. You're paying over market. But internally, your internal full-time staff that are loyal, that have been with you forever, they will find out. They will find out that you just paid that temp who has no loyalty to the office $10 an hour more than what you're getting paid. So then they're going to start saying, well, if he's willing to pay $10 an hour more for that person, well, what about me, right? And then all of a sudden, the resentment, the upward pressure in wages, internal wages start building. And then you have a whole other problem. Now, fair enough, maybe because a temp hygienist or dental assistant had to collect 35 T4s and do their own taxes, that they should be paid, an extra $10 an hour. But, we're coming in there and saying, listen, that's not the market. And, you work with us, we're going to pay you fair market wages. And a benefit that you're going to get is you're not going to collect 35 T4s anymore, and you're not going to have to do your own taxes, and you're not going to get audited, because now some of the candidates are getting audited when they're depositing those checks and not doing their taxes. So they're saying, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, $50 is obviously a fair market for the Vancouver Lower Mainland here, and they're fine with the benefits and the experience we give offset, the extra money they maybe have charged in the past, in that case, right? So,
yeah, we always tend to look at things through our own lens, and there's so much we don't realize or understand. And your example of the temp, basically ransoming their services for higher wage, and then the loyal hygienist or assistant hears this and finds out. But what they don't realize is, that temp worker might not be working full-time hours. So even though they're charging a higher wage, the full-time employee is actually making more over the course of the year because they're employed more consistently. They don't understand and again, I understand or see how a temp employee might brag about or boast about the rate that they do charge, but the paid employee doesn't understand the risk that this, air quotes, temp worker is taking on in regards to tax, in regards to insurance, in regards to just, their own corporate, their liability. And again, we're looking at, or that assistant and hygienist is looking at that person as, making more money. And again, like you say, feeling undervalued, when again, they don't realize so much that goes on the other side to truly be a temp or a contract worker. And, the grass might seem greener, but it's not always greener.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess, so you're getting into the Edmonton market, the Alberta market again after COVID. In the markets you guys have been in, I guess really Vancouver predominantly, like what changes have you seen in the market since you've come in, and now that you've been operating in 2 years? Like what have you seen improvement wise because of your existence in that market?
In the Edmonton market?
Oh, sorry, the Vancouver market, because you got more of a track record there. Like what improvements in the Vancouver market have you seen because you're now offering your services?
Well, I mean, we've grown tremendously, post-COVID. I mean, we've been fortunate with BC that we haven't been in a severe lockdown like Ontario has. But when COVID hit and everything was locked down, I sat there and I said, "Oh, there is a perfect staffing storm coming here. This is going to be a nightmare because if you've got the slightest chill or something that you maybe would have brushed off before and gone to work, I mean, you're just not going to work anymore, right? You have to phone in. So these last minute, cancellations because someone's not feeling 100% are everywhere. Kids are getting sick and you have to stay at home and take care of them. And so, our service, because we, have a team over here that work, and we have a great pool of workers that we've built up, and we have technology that we can, fill shifts quickly. It's exploded, our service here. I said when we started this, I said, we're going to be filling shifts within seconds. I'm telling you right now. And Pam, who leads our dental division, she goes, are you serious? I go, you wait, you watch what's going to happen once we build up a pool. And I can tell you right now that, in the Vancouver market, when we get a request for a hygienist, dental assistant, a receptionist, we're filling that request a lot of the times in seconds now. Within 30 seconds, we'll push that job out, and there'll be 3 people that will want that right away, and they'll jump on it. So we are saving those canceled days, and I think that's something that dentists should look at their books and quantify, right? And it's really simple math. Just ask your front office woman, how many days are we canceling every month because someone's phoned in sick or we don't have the staff? And especially with hygiene, let's say average $2,000 a day, and you're canceling 2 days a month. That's almost $50,000 a year of canceled revenue because you didn't have staff. We are in the Vancouver market, we are now saving on those last minute requests. So when I say last minute, when an office needs a hygienist or a dental assistant in less than 24 hours, we have about a 70% success rate on filling that request right now. And I predict that as we go further along here, we'll get closer to the 85 to 90% mark. So, again, just do the math. If I'm canceling $50,000 a year in revenue, and I can put workforce in my back pocket, and they can save me on a bare minimum 50% of that those canceled days. I mean, is it worth it, right? Of course it is. It's simple. So we call that reactive staffing. Since we've launched post-COVID, we're really starting to push what we call proactive staffing. And this is how we're really starting in the Edmonton market. And we're really trying to educate the offices and the dentists and the office managers to look at staffing differently and proactively get ahead of that curve rather than constantly trying to put out a fire that someone's, not available. Now, this proactive approach, it's not for every office. You have to have a couple things in place. One of them, you have to have the capacity, meaning, a chair that you can put an operator in. And number 2, you've got to have patients, right? And if you have a backlog of patients and you have the capacity, then, why not phone us up and say, hey, workforce, when do you have some available dates of your greatest hygienists that you work with? And we say, okay, well, because we can see all of the availability in real time through our app, we can say, okay, we've got, these 3 hygienists, these are their available dates over the next 4 weeks. Do any of them work with you? They say, sure, we'll take the 18th and the 23rd. We lock that hygienist in, and then that office goes ahead and starts phoning that backlog of patients. So if an office, and we have many offices that are taking advantage of this, that are more sophisticated, if they take this model and they start working with it, they get ahead of the curve because, again, it's simple math. If you've got a backlog of patients and you can, utilize one of our hygienists or dental assistants to get to those patients, then it will eventually bridge you to the point where you're going to take on a need to hire a full-time hygienist. Start with, 2 days a month. Then it will turn into, 1 day a week, then 2 days a week, then 3 days a week. Then all of a sudden now, as you're building your marketing and you're getting more clients through the door, you can then hire a full-time hygienist. Again, this is how temp staffing is used in almost every single industry. That's the way it's supposed to use. It's supposed to bridge, not only put out fires, but it's supposed to bridge the gap between, having a part-time person and a full-time person. Because as you probably know, it's impossible to, hire or find a hygienist to work, 1 or 2 days a week on a full-time basis. It's really difficult to find someone that's looking for, like not even just like every Monday, but let's say, one day a week that randomly would move from a Monday to a Thursday or whatever. You'll never find that person. It's impossible. So use a temp agency for that bridge.
And when you get to the capacity of your current office, be it number of chairs and operatories, be it like you say, team members or hours of operation, and once you get to that capacity, there's a big expense to expand. Whether you're expanding hours, now you have to bring on additional front end staff and business teams. And again, if you can't fill those chairs immediately, you eventually you will when you grow. But again, there's that large expenditure up front, and it's daunting. And you're trying to, where can we grow this business to? But again, I think that's a great point of using temp agents and temp staff members to make smaller investments to expand that capacity. And then once it's viable, then you make the larger investment to, again, extending hours or just filling more chairs more frequently, and you don't have that investment, which would be decreased revenue because you're expanding that capacity. So now you're starting to get into the Edmonton market. Like, where are you guys now? How does this kind of roll out, and what do you guys see until you're like fully, truly operational in the market, or are you fully, truly operational now?
Yeah, so the Alberta market in general is by far one of the biggest challenges in Canada. There was no fee guide in Alberta for quite some time, and wages in general have spun out of control in Alberta. We see Edmonton and Calgary as a slower grind to really try to rejig and train or educate both the clients and the candidates on what reality looks like. I mean, for instance, the hygienists in Alberta are getting paid the most on planet Earth right now. I swear to you that that's literally the highest wages I've ever heard across the continent of North America. There's not one place that I have found that pays hygienists more than in the Edmonton and Calgary markets. It's wild. So we have a balance that we're trying to achieve. It's like, okay, let's try to pull these wages back down to planet Earth that are reality for temp workers. And also work with there's smaller markets. Edmonton is a smaller market. There's only a certain population density in Edmonton comparative to Vancouver or Toronto, and in order to reactively staff and have a very high success rate on those last minute fills, you need a certain population density to do that properly. So we're picking away at it. Our success rate on those last minute fills, will not be as high initially as our Vancouver or Toronto markets, but over time we will, and I do believe we'll get there. So we are really trying to come into the Edmonton market, which we've been for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and build a nice pool of great hygienists and dental assistants that we're working with, and then go to offices that are busy, that have the capacity, and offer them more of that proactive solution. So we that's sort of our first thing that we're going to be that we are focusing on right now in Edmonton. Also, we've been talking a lot about temp staffing. We do permanent staffing as well for all of our dental offices, and that's really taken off post-COVID. We are regularly filling and finding permanent staff for offices across the country in all different little areas as well. We're getting requests in small pockets for sure.
It's just, again, these conversations are really fun for me to have because I've been in this industry for a number of years now, and there's still so much that I'm learning about in regards to what it takes to run an effective dental practice. And I remember going back to our first conversations we had in Kelowna, and the first time I heard you speak, it was just really mind blowing to see a different angle, a different challenge that doctors and owners of dental practices are facing on, you know, a daily, a weekly schedule. And again, the risk that they are exposed to if it's done incorrectly. So I think this is really exciting, really cool. For people that want to find you and learn more about Workforce, where's the best places to do that?
Yeah, so workforcedentalstaffing.com. And then we sort of have sub cities. So in Alberta, it would be workforcedentalstaffing.com/Alberta. And then you can register as an office or a work. If you're looking for work, both temporary or permanent, you can register on our website, and then we'll reach out to you. It costs absolutely nothing to sign up with us as a dental office. So, definitely, register on our website or give us a call, or our numbers on our website, and we'll get you signed up. We'll get you ready to go. And then from there, when, things, when a fire happens or, whatever last minute thing comes up, at least you now have an option to, so you don't need to cancel that day. And then we can also help you if you're looking for permanent full-time people as well.
No, absolutely. Before we kind of wrap this up, is there anything else that we haven't just touched on or discussed that you wanted to bring to light?
No, I think we've touched on all of the big points. There's a lot of little things that are more granular, but we've really dissected the entire problem, and we've looked at and found solutions for every single side of it. So we're really excited. We're flying right now in the BC market in Toronto. We were flying pre-COVID, and we anticipate as it starts to unthaw there, which we're seeing, it's going to be crazy. And we're excited to come back into Alberta and starting with Edmonton. So.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be happy to see you guys arrive and get back here as well. Hey, thank you so much. I think this has been really informative. And again, we can definitely jump back on maybe later on down the year to kind of see how things are progressing and kind of maybe take another deep dive on another topic and really look at it specifically. But again, I think this has been a very good introduction as to you, to Workforce, and to the opportunities that exist both for dental offices, but also for people wanting to work in the temp world. So, hey, thanks so much. Again, I'll include your contact information, the links, and yeah, please send me that article link too, because I want to read that, but also include that as well. And we'll touch base soon. We'll have a great weekend. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mike. Okay, cheers for now.
Take care.
All right.